Hey everyone, Yoiston here, and I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are in Middle-earth. Alright, so little fun thing with this podcast episode. So I was trying something new where I was, and only for the intro, so I really had to only redo the intro. I was recording with Royan coming out of my speakers, and I didn't think there was an echo. Yeah, so there was an echo, and the intro sounded like garbage. It wasn't really anything important, just called him Royan Bombadil, asked him about Goldberry, yada, yada, yada. Cracked open a beer because Ridgie and I took down Joker and Tom Bombadil in Battle of Middle-earth today, but, it's whatever. Royan was echoing the whole time, so now I had to come back and redo this. But ultimately, yeah, so if you guys want to play Battle of Middle-earth with us, or if you guys want to do Lord of the Rings online events or whatever, right? This is our community, our Discord, our Patreon. So if you guys want to do any of those kinds of things, just let us know. I'm trying to get Royan to join us in Battle of Middle-earth, and I hope if any of the rest of you want to play Battle of Middle-earth with us, you give it a shot. That would be a lot of fun. We had a great time today, even though we got smacked around by some brutals for a while there. Anyway, thank you guys as always. Appreciate you all. Enjoy the podcast. Alrighty, so our first piece here is Anders from Discord wants a segment on the whole top, like the idea that Fëanor did nothing wrong. So
let me tell you, dude, I could talk about this.
Oh yeah, so there's kind of a philosophical concept called steel manning the opposing arguments, right? You don't want to straw man them, you want to steel man them. So I obviously just from the get go want to say that like Fëanor didn't do nothing wrong, but let's try to argue the best we could that he didn't do anything wrong. All right, Ryan, you want to start us off?
Yeah, let's hit it. Okay, so the way that I feel about this is that so I'm going to talk about just up until the kinslaying. Okay. Everything after that we can talk about later. But up until the kinslaying, I honestly do believe that Fëanor did nothing wrong. The only thing that I think you could accuse him of is being a little bit like, what's the opposite of greedy? Like overprotective, just kind of like bitter.
Oh yeah, He's definitely bitter.
Bitter to the Valar, which in some circles could be considered heresy. But me, a person that doesn't care about that, standing up to gods is something that I like, especially gods that don't want to do anything. I'm a man of action, all right? And I can understand not wanting to use your immense powers that the Valar have against one of your own in Morgoth, but not allowing other people to do things when they were also slighted. I mean, Fëanor mostly cares about the Silmarils, but also his dad died. So come on.
That's true. And
so I firmly believe that was not bad. And he leads the Noldor and everyone's following him. That's not bad. They like him because he's charismatic and they're king.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's also one of those things where so I believe Olmo distrusted Melkor even after he came back and was changed. I know Tolkien still didn't like him.
Yeah, of course. And then that's our boy.
Yeah, dude, that's our guy. But then Fëanor also he didn't like him. He didn't trust him. So it's kind of one of those things where, Melkor turns against them, and Fëanor's like, yeah, no, duh. Of course he was going to do that. Valar, why didn't you see that?
Why are you booing me? I was right.
Yeah, why are you booing me? I'm right. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. So you can even make... And again, I don't believe this, but...
Whoa. Let's hear it.
If you want to go this way with the philosophical, arguing, with the kinslaying, you could say that was an act of utilitarianism, where he had to go after the greater evil, and to get to the greater evil, he had to kind of say, the Falmari gotta go, or the Falmari, the Sea Elves, they gotta go. And, just so I can... Because if I listen to them, if I listen to the Valar... I can't get to fight the greater evil, and that's what this is all about. So I will darken myself. I'll fight these who stand in my way, so I can at least attempt to take down the greater evil. Because, to be fair, if he would have thought, hey, Melkor's going to destroy the world or he's going to take over, we have to get there right now, and you guys are in my way, I'm going to take you down, not because I want to, but because I have to. Again, it's definitely very a morally ambiguous thing, but if you wanted to even argue that with the kinslaying, you could, I guess, theoretically. And then
I mean, it would be it's kind of a loose argument.
Yeah.
You'd have to be pretty biased, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be. Okay, I'm not here to tell you that kinslaying is bad. You get to make that own decision for yourself. I personally find the kinslaying to be bad.
Totally. It's funny. I feel like the people who are on the Fëanor did nothing wrong like subreddit, who are on that like bandwagon, are the people who are like, you know what, Thanos had a point. No,
I think it's mostly memes, like the prequel memes subreddit, where like, what's the best part in all the Star Wars movies? When Anakin kills those kids, bro.
Yeah. Oh no. But you're right. It's all about the memes of how bad it goes, of how dark it gets. That's true. So yeah, that's definitely. But again, if you were trying to say like Fëanor's the protagonist of our story, if you're really trying to make that argument, you could really take some morally gray, shifty areas to be like, listen, he was a man of passion who was trying to take down the darkness before the darkness could consume the world, and some people had to fall for that to happen. Like, you could try to, it's a very weak argument, but you could try to make it, I suppose. Now, okay. Well, what about the burning of the boats at Loskar? How could I? How can I try to twist this?
That one's rough. Because you could always make the argument at the end of the day they should have just given him the boats. Like, come on, guys. But burning them at the end was just kind of spiteful.
Like where he's like, I'm gonna leave my brother and his folks behind because screw those guys. We don't need them. Burning the boats. I'm not sending the boats back for them. Screw them.
I just have questions like. I don't remember if does he give a legitimate reason for why he's burning the boats, why he's abandoning his brother?
Well, let's go to the Silmarillion PDF, shall we? From what I recall, it's he knew that they were talking smack behind his back, like not necessarily even his brother.
There's our argument right there. They're conspiring against our king. They don't get to come to the land. They don't get to come to Middle Earth.
Yeah,
It's called Middle Earth at this point. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they were crossing from Valinor into Middle Earth, but let me see here.
They don't get to come if they're talking. If they're conspiring. Boom, we did it.
Yeah, there we go. That's true. They're conspiring against their king. Couldn't trust them. They weren't loyal enough.
Yeah, like what can you do? What can you do?
So there you go.
There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, nothing. You just got to leave them behind. The naysayers, right? You gotta get the ones who support you. I mean, he's saying here in the Silmarillion, then Fëanor laughed as one Fey, and he cried, "None and none. What I have left behind, I count now no loss. Needless baggage on the road it has proved."
Yeah, come on, get them.
Yeah. Let those that cursed my name curse me still, and wind their way back to the cages of the Valar. Let the ships burn. I guess there you go. They weren't loyal.
They were useless anyway.
Yeah. Finkelfin, all those guys useless.
We don't need them.
No way. So, and then he rides. Let's see. He gets into a battle after that. Rides forward. Gets himself killed by some Balrogs. You could say that in doing that, he was again trying to take down Melkor as fast as he could, trying to take down Morgoth and say, if I can take him down as fast as possible, that means the least amount of casualties. So I'm gonna go right for Angband immediately. Like, gonna just go there by myself, I guess. Like, I mean, he got so in front of his armies that, and again, that's what an inspiring leader does, right? He leads from the front. Yeah. Right?
And then he died tragically.
And then and that left an inspirational...
his people.
Exactly, to save his people, to inspire his people, the ones he left behind. No, I love it, because as he's dying, he's like, this was a bad idea. Like, that's what he's thinking in his head, because it says that he sees the Thangorodrim and knows that no power of the Noldor shall take it down. And it's like as he died, he was like, oh, this is a bad idea. oh, Fëanor. What a man. What a mad lad. No, it's yeah. I mean, again, if you want to argue it philosophically, and you take the Dagor Daggerath into consideration, where Fëanor is at last reincarnated so he can take the Silmarils and surrender them to Yavanna, you could argue that from like a determinism point of view, all the things he did, he had to do. So then in the end, he could surrender the Silmarils to Yavanna, and Yavanna could remake the two trees. So determinism, man. There you go.
If it works, it works.
Yeah.
And God damn it, it works.
Yeah, I guess we that's like the closest to a Steelman argument for that we can get. So any final thoughts on that, Ryan?
Now I'm thinking about it. I was thinking like did he do anything bad before the kinslaying? The only thing I think you could actually make a real argument for is absorbing his mom.
Oh,
but
well,
he didn't mean to do it.
True, that wasn't his fault, and drawing his sword on Finkelfin, on his brother. But again, it's that whole.
But did he do anything? Did he do anything to him?
He didn't. He thought his brother was betraying him. He thought his brother was trying to take his dad away. So he was like,
"Wouldn't you?
Yeah, to defend your dad. Like, come on,
on.
Got to get the loyalty, but in the bloodline, you got to get it in the bloodline."
No, but that. Jokes aside, that's honestly how I feel. I feel like, he's all right up until the kinslaying.
I mean,
after that, it gets a little bit harder. But,
like, for me, I don't know. I guess he's all right until he draws his sword on Finkelfin. Like, again, it's the thing with his mother. It's not really his fault, like you said.
Yeah.
But it was more of an omen of, like, the person to come, that his spirit was so fiery that he just took his own mother's life on accident or whatever. Because I know that wounded him for the rest of his life that had happened. But yeah, when he drew his sword on Finkelfin because of jealousy and all that stuff, that's when he really starts to go down that road. And then he takes the oath and all that.
But he didn't do anything wrong. I'm not making an argument that Fëanor was a likable guy, because he never was.
That's fair.
But he harassed Galadriel. Come on.
I guess he didn't commit a crime, if that's what you're saying. Well,
I mean,
actually, that is a crime. Threatening somebody's life is a crime. So,
maybe not in Middle Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Did they have?
Well, he got banished for
assault. Do they have assault charges?
I mean, kind of. He got banished for years because of that.
Yeah, but he didn't have a lawyer.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So that I tossed that out. You can't just banish someone without legal counsel. He should have called me. I would have come and represented him. Am I a lawyer? No, but damn it, dude.
You would have represented him before the sun and the moon were even in the sky. You're like, I'm
that's
on
me,
it.
bro. That's the next podcast opening. Yoisten is joined by Ryan, lawyer for Fëanor.
So how was that court process like, Ryan? Like, oh, I love it.
He didn't do nothing. All right, you got no proof.
Yeah, all these witnesses. That's all hearsay. It doesn't.
It
count.
is though. It's been thousands of years since this happened. You can't rely on eyewitnesses.
So, what do you guys all think? Let us know in the Discord. How would you Steelman if you had to, if here was the premise, right, that Fëanor did nothing wrong? How do you make that argument actually exist? I think we did the best we could with that.
It all depends on how it's like that meme. It's like, is murder really a crime to everybody? Sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's not. That's true. I mean, like, and it depends on how you define morality,
I want this to be clear. I'm joking. I don't actually think this.
Oh, yeah.
This can sometimes be like a stingy point for people politically. Murder is bad.
Murder is bad. But, like, let's say you kill on self-defense, right? It's technically not classified as murder at that point. But, so you do have a point, right? It comes down to how you define morality and all that stuff, to where Fëanor, like, yeah, again, you have to really.
Can we make a stand your ground laws for those of you who aren't like Americans? I don't know if you're gonna know what that is, but it's like the America, as you know, the memes are they come from somewhere. America is a land full of guns. And the stand your ground laws are the laws that allow, if somebody's breaking into your house in certain states, you can shoot them without if someone's breaking into your property. Yeah. I personally think that there should be you got to at least, tell the person, hey, if you don't leave, I'm going to
They're
shoot
gonna
you.
shoot you. I mean, to be fair, Fëanor had the chance to do that. Like, there was a moment before Melkor destroyed the trees. He came up to Fëanor's home, and I think Formenos. Yeah, I believe that's right. Formenos. Yeah. Okay. So Melkor came up to Formenos, like knocked on the door, and he was like, "Hey, buddy, do you trust the Valar? And you should still leave to Middle Earth, because." How the Silmaril is going to be safe. And then when he mentioned, like, Fëanor was like, actually, like, oh, you're right. I should still go to Middle Earth. And then Melkor mentioned the Silmarils, and he was like, hey, wait a minute. You're bad. Get out of here. But it was like his property. He could have just taken out his sword and kill Morgoth right there. And the end. The end. No Sauron, nothing. Like, the end. No, yeah, so he could have used the stand your ground law. I guess you could argue that in court for Fëanor, Ryan.
Yeah, I could. I'd win.
Manway's like, you know what? You're right. Fëanor, you're good to go.
Damn right I am.
So,
all right, do we want to move on to the next question?
Yeah.
I think we kind of beat this one into the dirt.
We did. When we said earlier that, like, we'll go into tangents, this is what we meant. So Anders asks a couple questions this time. So the same one who wanted the segment on Fëanor asks, the Astari mission was to move elves and men and all living things of goodwill to valiant deeds. So they were essentially motivational speakers. And yes, yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's like, is a motivational speaker a part of their job description? Absolutely. The other thing I would call is like a counselor for, they're like a consultant, because they're not technically a part of these ruling like governments.
That's
they're
fair.
Like a government contracting consultant.
They're contracted, I guess. Yeah, they are third party, aren't they? That's hilarious. I mean,
so Galadriel's like, listen, I'm not sure what we need to do here. Let me call in the boys. All right. She picks up the phone. She's like 1-800 wizards for help, and then all of a sudden, Gandalf and Saruman are there.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it's true, because like when you look at even their biggest like powers, like even before Gandalf was Gandalf, when he was still, why is his name escaping me now? His Aloran, when he was still Aloran during the First Age and the Years of the Trees and all of that, he would sometimes go amongst elves and rise within their hearts like unbidden images of like hope and good feelings and stuff. So he just gave off good feelings, and then that was
the vibes were immaculate.
Dude,
with
yeah.
Gandalf.
Honestly, in the Silmarillion, like, let's see here, chapter, what is that? Chapter, oh no, that's the Valaquinta, and then wisest of the Maiar was Aloran. He had the best vibes. It says that in the text.
I'm reading it out loud.
I'm reading it. That's what Tolkien says. His vibes were immaculate. But no, I mean, like, he like kind of gave off, this good sense, the good vibes, and that was only magnified by Narya, by the Ring of Fire, given to him by Círdan. And so he had this ability to kind of influence people's minds. And then, as we know with Saruman has a voice of power that he can, like, he almost convinced Theoden that they were allies and Gandalf was the enemy after the Battle of Helm's Deep in the book. And Theoden had, like, a goodwill power, and I believe it was,
And he was angry.
And he was angry, yeah. And I believe maybe it was Éomer and Gimli as well that kind of helped snap him out of it.
Yes.
But, yeah, he almost was that able to make his enemy believe that he was a friend. So he has that power of counseling within his voice. So I think those are, maybe that's also why they were chosen as Maiar. Maybe all Maiar have this capabilities because, Sauron was able to seduce Celebrimbor and the other elves to make rings.
I like to think that Gandalf is special.
Mm-hmm. Well, he is, because he has pity and he has courage and mercy. So he sees, like, the good in people, right? So, like, all right, your buddy comes up to you and he's like, man, my girlfriend just dumped me, right? She was seeing, like, somebody else behind my back while we were going out, right? You've got Saruman there, you've got Gandalf there. And you've got
Saruman's like, damn, that sucks, bud.
Yeah, Saruman's like, she was never worthy to be your equal. You and I, we will go to the bars and find you a worthy successor. Gandalf's like, listen, man, you feel bad? That's okay. Feel that. It's okay.
There's a lot of feelings in them.
Yeah, man. Like this is what it means.
Gandalf's a therapist.
Yeah, Gandalf's a therapist. And then Sauron's like, we will destroy her. You and me. Let's go. It's how they all would be different to each other.
No, he wouldn't destroy, enslave.
Oh, true. Even
Sauron wasn't about destruction. He was about
order and tyranny, and that's true. So I mean, it's a silly example, but it really does hold up. Where it's like kind of how they answered, right? Gandalf had pity and mercy, but especially with Gandalf the White, he was able to strengthen up others, right? Theoden, and trying to do this with Denethor, and like, where are your armies? Let's go. You have this call to action. Let's fight. So they were counselors more than they were fighters. So yeah, I mean, essentially they were motivational speakers.
Yeah.
Any more on that, Ryan?
No. I'm really glad we talked about it though.
Yeah, me too. I love the examples we're throwing out here tonight. Anders also asks, what do you think Tolkien would say the difference is between knowledge and wisdom? And that's like a really, really excellent question. For me, I wrote this down in our outline here for this podcast, and I really feel like the difference between knowledge and wisdom is Saruman and Gandalf.
Yes.
Saruman spends millennia studying the crafts of the enemy and working to understand.
Collecting.
Yeah,
he's a collector.
Yeah,
he's a hoarder. Have you seen?
Have you seen inside of Orthanc? He's a hoarder. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's got a Palantir that I'm sure he. So Sauron had his Palantir since the downfall the taking of Minas Ithil in 2050. Yeah, so during all the time that Saruman had his Palantir, Sauron had his as well. And but he started to use it more towards the end there because knowledge and trying to find the ring himself and all of that, and then to communicate with Sauron as well. So for him, knowledge was the number one factor, and it's a very Tolkienian theme that knowledge can be fatal. Knowledge can be honestly in some ways detrimental, because if I'm not mistaken, Melkor, I don't know if it's me reading this into Melkor's character or if it's actually stated somewhere, but Melkor seems to be the smartest of the Valar. Whereas Manwë has winds and Aule has, earth and rocks. I think Melkor's might be just power and knowledge, because the two kind of often go hand in hand. Because you think of some of the, you take the inverse and you look at some of the, most good characters, some of the best of heart characters within all of the legendarium, and they're hobbits. And hobbits, let's be honest, aren't that smart. So in comparison to Saruman,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even Gandalf, I feel like, whereas Saruman is like the librarian of Middle Earth, Gandalf, he actually spends what I'm thinking about, he spends a lot of time going back and looking for stuff, looking for knowledge. He goes to Saruman to ask him questions about what, ask him questions. He does ask him for advice, which would, that would point to Gandalf assuming that Saruman, when he's not evil, is wise as well, which I think is true. I think obviously they're both very knowledgeable and they're both very wise.
Yeah, and it's funny because Saruman, his epithet is the wise, Saruman the wise. But I would actually say it should be more it'd be more apt to say Saruman the knowledgeable. Obviously that doesn't roll as well, but Gandalf, and to your point, I mean Gandalf goes to places, talks to people, and he derives wisdom from experience, which is always kind of.
But he also knows when he needs to be more knowledgeable, and he goes to the source. He goes to Minas Tirith to look through the basement, look through the archives.
Yeah, the scroll of Isildur, all of that,
and be like, "What the hell's going on here?"
Yeah.
And it takes him 17 years to figure it out, but he does figure it out.
Yeah, and that's another thing. He knows that he can't just think about something like that. He doesn't have all the answers. He's got to go out, ask Aragorn to hunt down Gollum. He's got to talk to Gollum himself. He's got to look at the scroll of Isildur, and then derive wisdom from experience. And
this is not related at all to what we're talking about, but you just saying that reminded me of a funny meme. You may have saw it on Reddit that I saw recently, where it's like Aragorn left his only home and his girlfriend for 17 years because Gandalf had a hunch. And just like,
I didn't see that.
I want you to go hunt this thing that I think exists out there. Have I met it? No. Do I know where it is? No.
Does it have the answers?
Maybe. And then and Aragorn was like, you know what? Yes.
Yeah, yo, this is gonna be sweet. I'm gonna hunt it. It's gonna be like remembered. Like it's gonna be sick. Yeah. No, that's true. It's
If I was Aragorn, I would have told Gandalf like, no, go away.
Yeah, that's fair. Come to me with a real lead and maybe some gold. Got yourself a deal. But like, no, it's funny because like I think it was I think Aragorn probably approached it as like, this is a great task for, like, I've spent all these years traveling around the wilderness, becoming a tracker, becoming a ranger. This is probably the greatest task assigned to me as a ranger to find, because a wizard because Gandalf is calling me on, for help. So there's a lot of trust in Gandalf that Gandalf wasn't just wasting his time, I guess.
Yeah. But also like, come on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and it's funny because I don't know how many other trackers were honestly looking for Gollum, because you imagine if Gandalf was like, he called like a council in Rivendell in like 3002 of the Third Age or something, and he was like, all right, you Legolas, you Glorfindel, you Aragorn, you Thrend, like all of these people, let's look for this guy all around Middle Earth. Like he would have found him like that, but he's just like, no, one person, that's it. Aragorn, you got it, buddy. And luckily he was right, but took a lot of time, took a lot of years. But yeah, I mean, anyway, with the wisdom point, right? We've all heard that story of Socrates, that he was the wisest in Athens because he would just bring people through his method, through just asking questions and honestly just having them interrogate themselves, right? The people he would talk to. Gandalf kind of does the same thing in many ways, where it's just like, he's never really going to dominate your mind and assert something to you. It's, again, he's a motivational speaker and he's more of a third party contracted counselor or advisor, and he's not going to dominate and say, no, this is what you're going to do. He's like, this is what I think we should do, and here are my sources, but I'm not sure. It plays into his confidence as well. Gandalf doesn't become too confident in his own abilities until he's Gandalf the White. Before that, and even before he is Gandalf the Grey, when he's just Eloren, he's pretty iffy. Like he's scared, right? He's scared of Sauron. He's scared of his own abilities to some extent, I believe. Like, he doesn't believe he has what it takes to some degree, right? He refuses to be the head of the White Council. He doesn't even want to go to Middle Earth. He thinks he's too weak, right? So all of that kind of also plays into his definitiveness, where he's just like, I could be wrong. And that's admirable. That's admirable when it's countered and balanced with wisdom, is ultimately what it is, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think when you're looking for Tolkien's different, like how he defines knowledge versus wisdom, look to Saruman and Gandalf, because I think
personally Tolkien, I think he's a very knowledgeable man. Obviously, he was learned, he was a professor, but I think he holds wisdom higher in his own personal respect, because, and I see that reflected in the two characters. Totally. And how, no matter which way you shake it, Gandalf's a better person.
Oh yeah, totally. and I think that's because I also agree with that virtue, that wisdom, again, you can be the smartest guy in the room, but if you don't know how to talk to people, if you don't know how to like look at yourself and look inward and to understand who you are, honestly, knowledge isn't that powerful because it's not wielded correctly. And that's why I think, Tolkien, he has a whole group called the Wise, right? The White Council. And, he considers the elves of the First Age that were good people to be wise people as well. So, yeah, it's really, really fascinating. Knowledge often, actually, in Tolkien's works, often leads to downfall. Numenor getting more knowledge about death, and then they became afraid of death, because they let the knowledge they let knowledge supersede wisdom, and they fell. All of that. So it's always a fall. Saruman gaining too much knowledge about Sauron. Even Sauron probably gaining too much knowledge about Melkor and all of that, and how he fell during the years of the lamps. So, so we'll move on here to Quantum Catalyst asks, what age/time frame of Middle Earth would you want to live in, and why? So we've answered where we would want to live, but yeah, Ryan, what time period would you want to live? And let's exclude Fourth Age, because
that's what I was going to say. I feel like the Fourth Age is just the best all around. But if we're taking that out of the equation, So, I mean, let me walk through my process a little bit here so that people can understand my answer. So, obviously, if I want to be where the characters that I know and love are, I'd pick the Third Age because of that. But also, as a human being that has, things to do like being alive, I'm going to try to pick, times when there's not immediate death available. So that the First Stage is out. It's off.
Absolutely. First Stage is out.
Like half the world, it's just like, I'm imagining I'm just going to spawn somewhere. And if I just ended up in Balerion, I'm just like, well, there we go.
That's a good point. If you we'll assume that you spawn in a you don't get to choose the place, but you get to choose the time. Yeah, that's a good point.
And the First Stage, it's just way too risky.
Yeah.
It's way too risky. So that's not at all worth it. I think I'd probably pick the Second Age. Why? Yeah. Because there's still stuff going on, but there's a lot of time where there's not a lot of death happening. Second Age is long and kind of empty, and that's good for staying alive.
That's a really good point. I guess if we're choosing an age at large, not the first. If I could choose a couple 100 years, the first is in the running, because there's like a 200-300 year period where Melkor's trapped in Angband, and elves and men and dwarves are just chilling. That seems like a good time frame from I think it's like the year 40 to 400 something.
Are we spawning as humans, or is it random race?
See, and also that's a good question. I would say, let's just say, because the only factor we can control in this scenario is time/age. Let's just say you're spawning as a random race in a random land. So it's just really you're rolling the dice. So I like what you say with the Second Age. There are a couple things with the Second Age that worry me, the War of the Elves and Sauron in particular, because that's about halfway through the age. And then you have the downfall of Numenor, which is, another 1,500 years out, and then the War of the Last Alliance. So, if you could get somewhere within the 1,500 years of peace before the War of the Elves and Sauron, or sometime in the 1,500 years after, that's pretty good. But that's how the Third Age is as well, is it's you do have wars with Gondor and the Easterlings and stuff, but if you spawned, honestly, in the first 1,000 years of the Third Age, you're probably going to be okay.
That was going to be my backup, was early Third Age. And honestly, probably hang out in Arnor. If you could put some time between yourself and the end. If you're spawning as a man in Arnor, that's nice. If you're spawning as an elf in the Third Age, you're probably just depressed. So that kind of sucks. If you're a dwarf in the Third Age, you're probably fine, unless you end up in Khazad-dûm.
Oh no.
but you could always technically I like to think that I'm going to spawn with the knowledge that I have.
Oh, true.
So if I spawn as a dwarf in Khazad-dûm, I'm getting out of town.
Yeah.
And if I spawn and I'm in Erebor, pre-dragon, I'm out. See ya.
That's true. Actually, Ryan, I think you're completely right with the Second Age. I might actually argue the Years of the Trees, because only a couple bad things.
I didn't even think about that. You could go back to the day where life was good.
Yeah. But the problem is if you spawn as a dark elf who never went to Valinor, so you
that sucks, bud.
Yeah, that does suck. You're far away from the trees of light, and it's too late to go to Valinor. That would suck. Years of the Lamps, same kind of thing, where it's just Morgoth is gone in the far north, and then all the Valar are just chilling on an island, in the middle of Middle Earth. That's pretty sweet. But I think the Second Age is probably a good bet, because in the Third Age you still even have a plague that wipes out good chunk of people of Gondor and
Yeah, you gotta get in before the plague, but we don't know when in the Third Age we're gonna get spawned.
Yeah, exactly. If we could limit time frames, if we could say a specific time frame, it's like you said, like Arnor first 1,000 years of the Third Age, right? But I don't know.
Also, if you're spawning as an orc in any time, you're screwed. So for you. But that's you play the game. That sucks. But if you spawn as your elf, you're probably going to be fine almost all the time, except for like the first stage. Now I want to be an elf in the first stage.
No.
It's asking for death.
I like it. Because I mean, if we say like the main like races, right? If I were an elf and I could choose a time, like an age, I would say Years of the Trees for sure. Everybody's chilling. Like the only bad thing that happens is at the very end of the age, but you still have a lot of good years before then, and then you can still just choose to stay, like with Finarfin after Fëanor goes off. You can choose to stay, and in the bliss of Valinor. If I were a dwarf, I would say Second Age, totally Second Age.
Absolutely,
because like nothing really that bad happens. And if I were saying Hobbit, obviously I'd have to go Third Age. If I were saying Man, Second Age because of Numenor. Yeah. There we go. How about you, Ryan?
I think I'm very similar. I like to think that it's going to be a random crapshoot for whatever race you're going to end up as. If you end up as like a Hobbit, you're probably fine, no matter where. But no, they don't really pop up that much. So if you're an orc at any point, you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe you could be an orc in the Second Age, and just kind of hang out with your orc buddies. Try not to get pulled into things like the wars, elves, Sauron.
Yeah.
When Sauron comes to recruit your boys, you say, "Sorry, dude, I'm gonna be sick that day." Like,
oh yeah. I'm MIA already. You can't find me. I feel like with the orcs, it's almost like the highs and the lows are even higher and lower, because if you spawned as an orc in the first age after the Nirnaeth or Noitiad, where like the armies of the free peoples just got screwed over, and then like Glaurung was running wherever he wanted to go, orcs could just run around. Like if you're an orc at that time, you are living the life, man. You're good to go.
You're living the high life, bro.
But again, the lows are also way lower, because if you are in 3020 of the Third Age, the year after the destruction of the One Ring, and you're one of the last orcs alive, you're like,
that sucks, bro.
Yeah. I'm dead, man.
Hunted down, bro.
I am screwed. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, that was a fun question. So Noldor Fanboy asks, are the Variags, and I hope I'm saying that right, Variags and Wayn Riders.
I always thought it was like Variag, but Variag is probably.
Are the Variags and Wayn Riders Easterlings? And now I also kind of want to add in to clear up Haradrim Easterlings, Corsairs, kind of like what how they all go together. So the Easterlings are kind of tough. So the Variags, if I recall, they are from Khand, which is near to Harad, and that's like southeast of Mordor. So, they're from southeast of Mordor, but they're probably pretty close to Easterlings, because the Easterlings come from Rhûn, and how I imagine is Rhûn spans all of just like east of Mordor.
I think Rhûn I would just call the land east of Mordor and Rovanian. Everything there I would just barrel under the term Rhûn. Anything south of Mordor, I would call Harad.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to say it.
And so, just because with the frame narrative, we don't know those borders, we don't know anything like that. Are there other kingdoms over there? Probably. I like to think so, because I'm a world builder, or I like to think about the world being built. But like for the purposes of this discussion, do you just want to like go through the different named things that everybody just seems to call Easterlings?
Well, so actually, I wanted to clear up something you said as well. So we don't know a lot about the East, but we do know actually a little bit more than we would have thought. So when I mentioned that that island of Valar during the Years of the Lamps, so I believe that was in the Sea of Helkar, and that is east or northeast of Mordor. And then you have a mountain range called Orokarni, and then you have a place called Cuivianen where the elves were born, and Hildorian where the men where the men awoke and elves awoke respectively. So we have some of those lands, but I assume all of that is within Rune in the Third Age. But there's also a place called the Wildwood, and that's actually in the east as well, near the Sea of Helkar, and yeah, you have all these places. But so like you said, let's go through and just kind of clear up what Easterlings are and what all the different factions kind of are.
It's like a lot of fans will call everybody that is a human fighting with Sauron an Easterling, which is not technically correct, because the Corsairs are not Easterlings.
Yeah. So in the First Age, there were Easterlings, but I've gone back and forth on this, whether they were descended, like whether the Easterlings of the Third Age were descended from those of the First.
There's a lot. There's just too much time in between them, and you don't learn that much. So I think it would be, you could call them the same, but I think it's just not likely.
It's just it's such conjecture on our part to know for sure. I've heard people say that the Easterlings of the First Age are actually more like the Dunlendings of the Third Age.
That sounds pretty. That works for me.
Yeah, because people broke down the languages of the Easterlings of the First Age and the Dunlendings, and it's like kind of similar. So that makes sense to me as well. But the men of Middle Earth, just at large, share bloodlines. So for the Easterlings of the First Age to be in some way related to the Easterlings of the Third, like I wouldn't doubt that at all.
Direct descendants looking similar, wearing a similar thing, I think probably not.
Yeah, probably not. But like you said, so like Easterlings, Easterlings are a specific group of people within the East. And so Wainwriters, when they show up, they are Easterlings.
Yeah, they're like a tribe of Easterlings, I think.
Yep, that's right. And then who were the Easterlings that Rohan was at war with? 2510 of the Third Age. Let me see. I just have dates just in my mind right now.
I think that's the Balkoth.
Yes, thank you, Ryan. That is the Balkoth. So they're another group of Easterlings, different tribe that aren't too different from the Wainwriters, if I recall.
I can't believe I had that name.
Listen, that was amazing.
I'm not an expert. I can't believe I had that name right.
That was amazing. The Balkoth, yeah, there you go. So they were kin to the Wainwriters, but not the exact same. So yeah, then the Corsairs, they come from Umbar in the south, and they are kind of mixed in with the Númenóreans, who were the Kingsmen of the Second Age, and the Kingsmen were those who opposed to the faithful. They kind of served Sauron and Ar-Pharazôn and that group. The Black Númenóreans, the bad Númenóreans from Númenor, they went to Umbar and mixed in with Corsairs, and I believe Corsairs are related to Haradrim, and that's kind of where a lot of those men came from, was Harad. And so then in Harad, you also have the Olifants, the Mumakil, and all of that.
And we talked about the Variags are from Khand.
Yeah, they are from Khand.
Which is southeast of Mordor. Yeah,
and if I recall, the half-trolls, I think they also come from... Yeah, they come from Far Harad.
Oh, yeah.
What? The Variags didn't do much. They just showed up in Pelennor.
I think it's just one of the name drops that he had in Return of the King.
They put. I remember researching them because they are the ones in. We're talking about Latro. We're back to Latro talk.
Yes.
When you play Latro and I think it's probably level 95. When you're doing Old Arnor, which is like the last region before the Battle of Pelennor Fields, I think.
Yeah, Old Arnor, northwest of Minas Tirith.
What's that? Oh gosh, what's I can't believe I had the balls. Yeah, Caer Andros, I think, in Latro is captured by the Variags.
That's what I remember as well. So I linked the Variag article in the description of the YouTube version of this.
It's brief.
Yeah, it is. So, you're absolutely right. They're first encountered as enemies in Far Anorian.
Fëanor, not Oldenor. Oldenorian is the one with Osculia
yeah.
and Minister.
Yeah. And Khand. Yeah. So these guys are mercenaries from Khand. So, Sauron wasn't afraid to dish out the monies, man.
Apparently, Sauron had a bunch of money. Listen, we've seen Mordor. I don't know where it's coming from, but
true. That's a good.
There's not a lot of farming. There's not a lot like.
It's probably like Corsairs. I need you to pillage Gondor and then pay the Variags. Okay, it's like all right, let's do it.
But how's he paying the Corsairs? Whoa.
Corsairs, you get to take whatever you want except the money that I need to pay the Variags. Sound good? And they're like, oh, bet. We've been wanting to raid, Dol Amroth for a while now, so let's go. We've been wanting to go to Pelargir for a while and steal their stuff. So, hopefully that clears up the Easterling stuff. I mean, there are a lot of groups intermixed, and it's definitely cool world building for sure. So Grimdark Sting asks or says to maybe discuss how Tolkien wrote battle scenes, even if they were skimmed somewhat, like how logistics and tactics are displayed in the battle scenes. So with these, it's really interesting. I bet, again, given more time, like it's hard to look at the Silmarillion and say, this is a literary criticism that he didn't know about. Like, I think if given more time, like 20 more years of life, the Silmarillion would have been like a lot, like any criticisms that you could find with the Silmarillion probably would have been touched upon at least a little bit.
Yeah, because he would have just he was kind of a perfectionist. He would just kept going over it.
Exactly. So really with the Silmarillion, I have a hard time, like, because there are a lot of criticisms out there, some contradictions, things like that with some of the story within it. Just because, again, he wasn't, if he had more time, I think he would have gone back. I think he knew about a lot of these. But one of them is that the War of Wrath, is like a paragraph. I think I've probably talked about it on the podcast before.
Yes.
Yeah, so like Morgoth is built up and then he's just defeated like that. So Tolkien also has a way that I like how he describes battles, because he doesn't necessarily go through the numbers and the logistics and the tactics like too much.
Point of view.
Yeah,
I feel like
it is point
like
of view.
a point of view of a hero, and then he talks about like the tactics. And I think the best the Pelennor Fields, those like 3 or whatever chapters, 3 and change chapters or whatever, are that's like some of the best in my opinion, because he talks of like you go to Aragorn and then you like see part of the battle through his eyes and stuff like that, and talks about some of the tactical point of views and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that the Silmarillion is usually where people criticize for like skimming through battles. Yeah. The War of Wrath is not just a battle that was skimmed; it was a war. Yeah, it was
like a 40.
And I think that the reason why is because he never got around to completely writing it.
Yeah.
Because when you compare it to other just battles that are described with way more detail.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so it is funny though, because even with Pelennor Field, so the Siege of Minas Tirith, I believe, has its own chapter.
I think, yeah, something like that.
So, but the Pelennor Fields is actually just one chapter. Let me see here. So, yeah, the Siege of Gondor, that's one chapter, and the Battle of Pelennor Fields. So the Ride of the Rohirrim, that chapter actually is just them coming through the Druidine Forest. It's not them actually fighting yet. So the battle is just one chapter, but it's like the pace is kept, and it's really cool because, like Ryan said, you kind of stay with a hero for a sec, and the first hero that you stay with is Theoden.
The beast.
Yeah, dude, and it talks about him slaying the king of the Black Serpent of Harad, and then let me see here, 1, 2, 3. It's within about 4-ish paragraphs. Theoden is slain. 4 paragraphs of one chapter, and then he's slain, and then all of a sudden you're following Merry and Éowyn, and their encounter with the Witch King, and that's
happening at the same time.
Yeah.
That you're reading, so it's not in sequence; it's in series. But the way that they're written is in sequence.
The siege. Let me see. So the Siege of Gondor, I think that's before the Rohirrim get there, and then the Pyre of Denethor. Yeah, so that's when at the same time Gandalf and Pippin are helping Faramir, making sure Denethor doesn't kill him. And then yeah. So no, you're right. It's you're looking at it through different characters, because then you follow Éomer after Éowyn kills the Witch King, and then you see Aragorn come to the field. The battle is turned. Aragorn, Éomer, and Imrahil, they all just kick ass.
Absolute
and then,
beasts.
Yeah, dude. and then it's the end of the chapter. And then you come back in the next chapter with the Pyre of Denethor. So
yeah. So I think I like the idea. I personally, as a nerd, love it when writers talk about the strategies that they have in their battles, because it tells me, one, because I'm a nerd about it, but also tells me that they're thinking about the battle and that they have a picture. I don't think that Tolkien had like a huge plan for. I always joke about this. It's like, what do you do when you have to have a battle because it's a fantasy novel, but you don't like writing it? You do what he did in The Hobbit, and you just have your character knocked out at the beginning of it.
And then it's told about later in narration.
And then later, it's like you hear about the tall tales and stuff like, or whatever. It's people telling you what's happening. And honestly, that kind of like works way better from a writer perspective, because if you have a point of view novel, which is what The Hobbit is, I think you're with Bilbo the whole time, right?
Yep.
Yeah. You can only say so much about the battle because you have to stay with that point of view. And there's no way Bilbo, being small and trying to sneak around, is actually paying attention to what's happening for the rest of the battlefield. So having characters tell him about it later works way better for that. And then the other way you could do it is what I say here. You have, if you're still sticking with the point of view, you switch your point of view to characters that are at different points in the battle doing different things. And then you can start, as the reader, you put your picture in your head of the overall tactics and the battle movement over time.
Yeah.
Something I find really fun. I've been playing a lot of Bannerlord recently, so.
Oh yeah, no, I know you like the tactics and all of that, and well, it's interesting too. Like when you tell it in a way where it's like, oh, Bilbo is only hearing from others what happened during the battle while he was knocked out, the Battle of the Five Armies. You can only tell you can tell the parts that you like, and you don't like
yeah.
You don't have to say, well, and then the armies, were routed and fell back, and then they had to cause a diversion, and then like nothing really happened because of this.
Yeah, you don't have to do the filler because you just have a character who's telling you an excited story. So skip over that anyway.
Yeah, and that's why like the Battle of Pelargir, where Aragorn takes the Corsair ships and all of that and frees the city. We only hear about that from Legolas. I believe Legolas telling that part of the story, because maybe Gimli was telling parts of it too. I know at some point he was like, I can't bear to keep going because the dread from the dead was still with him, from the dead folk. But like we only hear like a couple sentences about that battle, and that's all Tolkien wanted to say about that battle. The most that he gave us in terms of numbers and the logistics of the battle itself is actually the Battle of the Black Gate, because he actually tells us the thousands of riders from Rohan who came, right? The thousands.
And as Aragorn the king, he would know that.
Yeah,
because he would have that information. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And then it's like, they had two slag hills outside the Black Gate, so they took those hills strategically, had one force on one hill, one force on another hill, right? So yeah, it was a lot more like of tactics and strategy.
Now I think about it, Theoden would know how many riders he has, probably.
Yeah, but Mary wouldn't. And
Mary would not.
Yeah, Mary's the POV that we get through most of the build up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's fascinating, because even Helm's Deep flies by like that. Like it's one chapter, but it flies.
It's a long chapter, but it's a good one.
Is it even that long? Like
it feels long, but mostly because I'm just living it, and I like to think about it and read slowly when I'm doing exciting things.
Yeah, that's fair. It is. Yeah, it's a good length. That's a good length.
Do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah. So Grim, did we may have mentioned this before. We can talk about it a little bit again. We may have talked about this on a different episode, but Grimdark
I think we did.
asks what everyone's favorite song in the Legendarium is, and what's yours, Ryan?
Well, last time we talked about this, I talked about how when we say the Legendarium, I include the movies. It's fun.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I talk about Pippin's song that I always forget the name to.
Is it in the Return of the King, or is it?
Yeah, it's the one in the Return. It's the one in the Return of the King.
Edge of Night.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
I think that's just super well performed, and I like the lyrics of it. And I don't think it's in the book.
So part of it is in the book. Let me see, but it's told in it's sang in a much different way.
Yeah.
Let me see here. It's somewhere in the early chapters of the Fellowship. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Fare you well, fare you well. This is the bottom part of the song. This is in chapter 3 is company. It's the bottom part of that. Fare you well, fare you well. Home is behind, the world ahead, and there are many paths to tread, through shadows to the edge of night, until the stars are all alight. Then world behind and home ahead, we'll wander back to home and bed. Mist and twilight, cloud and shade, away shall fade, away shall fade. Fire and lamp, and meat and bread, and then to bed, and then to bed. So, Billy Boyd, right, I believe it was just left to him to like, hey, if you want, you go ahead and write the song, and he was like, okay, I'm going to take it from this verse of this song, and I'm going to turn it to a different tone to make it much more sorrowful. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, so I'm not a singing person. I'm not a choir person. So when I read a song, it sometimes is very hard for me to actually make it rhyme. I know that sounds really dumb. Or not make it rhyme, but make the notes work with it.
Yeah.
Which is why I absolutely love the songs that are in the movies. And I love hearing these, professional actors definitely have had at least a little bit of singing experience. So aside from Edge of Night, I think that The Misty Mountains Cold, obvious fan favorite, just because of that scene in The Hobbit. It's like the best scene in the movie, I would argue.
Yeah.
It's right at the beginning, but damn, is it good.
Yeah, it is definitely. And, I sang that one once with some of my friends from choir during a concert in high school.
I remember.
I
was there.
Oh, really? That's awesome. I didn't know you were there for that one. Yeah, that one. Let me see here. I'm glad you brought that one up, because there's a part of that song that because the movie takes a verse of it and it doesn't do the whole thing, but
it's long, I think.
It is. It's really long. And Clamavi de Profundis, I believe is how you say their name, on YouTube, they made an excellent rendition of it. But the line, the mountains smoked beneath the moon, the dwarves, they heard the tramp of doom. They fled their hall to dying fall, beneath his feet, beneath the moon. I love that.
You can figure out I don't even know.
The pentameter or the
what's the term for the way that you say the words, not inflection, but with the beats.
Oh, just rhythm of the words, or the
meter. The meter.
Yeah, the meter.
Yeah, you can figure out the meter. I can't. I play band. I know how to read notes. I know how to make sounds, but I can't words. I struggle.
Yeah, that's okay. It's only from reading so much poetry and doing doing choir a lot. Well, and it's just all the different covers of that song. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because that's definitely one of my favorites as well.
Banger, bro.
It is a banger, dude.
Are you gonna pick the song of Baron and Luthien?
So one of mine is the one that Gimli sings in Moria, the song of
I remember that one.
Durin's Awakening.
I remember you talking about this one last time.
Yeah, I love that one, because Sam is like, who would ever want to live in these nasty holes? And then Gimli's like, what?
First of all.
Yeah, first of all. And then he sings this Gimli of all the, and he wasn't even he hadn't even gone to Lothlorien yet. He wasn't as friendly with the elves and stuff. But Gimli, of all the members of the Fellowship, just pulls out this banger, and he brings out a beautiful voice and just sings of Durin's Awakening, and you feel in that song better than any verse or any like prose could tell you. You feel within that song the glory of Khazad-dûm and what it was in its glory days. And I mean, it talks about Gondolin, it talks about Nargothrond, and like, it's just so good. Because you often forget that that Khazad-dûm was thriving when Gondolin was thriving, right? Durin the Deathless was still up and at it from what we could tell. So, yeah, I mean, that song is just, it's incredible. There are a lot of good ones. But I would say that one's good. Boromir's Lament that the Three Hunters sing, that one's a good one. But yeah, if I had to choose like some favorites, that would be one of them. Is the Song of Durin's Awakening and Khazad-dûm. Yeah. Any other thoughts on that one, Ryan?
I just like, I remember I was one of those people the first time that I was like, so I'm rereading the books now, although it's going way slower. But I remember going through the Fellowship of the Ring first time and skipping the songs.
Oh,
so I thought they were not important.
Yeah, the last time I read the Fellowship, I sang all the songs. I just sang it out loud because Tolkien actually.
Yes, but you're a massive nerd, so.
Oh, totally.
I say to my to the host of the channel while also on the podcast.
I love it. I put in an article in the description for the YouTube video of Tolkien Songs, because I mean, I just want to make sure I'm not missing any that really. The Song of Nimrodel, like that Legolas sings, it kind of mirrors that Gimli had a song, Legolas has a song. That one's really good. Oh, dude, if you want a banger at the inn, the one that Frodo sings in the Prancing Pony, The Man in the Moon, that one's sweet. Let me see. Peter Hollins, who's just such a good singer on YouTube, he does a really good, like a Hobbit drinking song medley, and he includes part of that song, and it's so good, man. Let's see. Tom Bombadil's songs. Fall of Gil-galad, Song of Beren and Luthien. Yeah, let me see. I don't remember that one that much, the song.
I always thought that was like the quintessential Tolkien song, was the Beren and Luthien one.
It's definitely one of them, especially because Aragorn sings it in like the extended edition of the movies.
Which I've seen.
Oh,
enjoy.
Yeah. The Ents marching song. That one is sweet.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, dude. We come with roll of drum. It's like, yes, sir. He's going to war.
Everybody sings.
Oh, yeah, they do. Oh, Where Now is the Horse and Rider? The Lament for the Rohirrim. That's a banger. I mean, that's a really sad banger, but it's good. Yeah, no, I don't know. Those are really good ones. I do wish there was more of those in the Silmarillion. Just like
songs. Yeah.
Yeah. Because really, there aren't. It's much more actually. It's in prose, but it's like hard to understand prose. You know, it's really complex words. So yeah, do you want to move on to the next one?
Yep.
So all right. So I didn't know how long. I think we're about an hour in, because I just know this one could bring us pretty far. But I do want to talk to you, especially since our news section isn't that long. All right. So Royan and I talked about this a bit today in our Battle for Middle-earth group, but Royan and I recently have been playing, for the past couple of months, playing a D&D game with our friend, or with a couple of our friends, but our friend across the country, we all jump on Discord and he DMs for us. And so, okay, the thought has always been there of like, how would I do a Middle-earth campaign and or one shot? Because you know what would be a very, very fun Patreon exclusive thing to do?
Oh my god.
A Middle-earth D&D one shot where I DM. That would be so much fun. like
don't give these people promises that you can't keep.
Again, I'm saying that would be fun. I'm not saying anything yet. That would take a lot of preparation, because it's also because I've never done a one shot before. I've done a campaign. A one shot's tough because that's like 6 hours of just straight playing, and
you have to have a plot and it has to move fast.
It does, and that's the thing. Like that's where like I kind of want to talk about this on the podcast. trying to see like because you could do so many things throughout the different ages. Like what I would want, just so it's a part of the grander story and it moves fast, like you say, if it were a one shot, would be something either in like the Nirnaeth or Noidiyad, like during one of the battles of the First Age, or during the War of the Ring, somewhat of like a covert mission against Dol Guldur, or something during the Angmar War where you're moving against the Witch King. What could even be fun too is doing a one shot where, you can roll up certain characters or classes, but you play as other characters. So like the fall of or the Battle of Fornost, for instance, having that be a one shot where you have one player who's who's Prince Eärnur of Gondor, who's like a fighter.
That'd be awesome.
That would be sweet, dude. And then you have one who's a paladin, who's Glorfindel. You have one who's like, what would Elrond be?
That's where we kind of get into the problem with D&D and Middle Earth, because D&D magic is such a huge part of, and in Middle Earth, most magic is there's magic in Middle Earth, obviously, but most of it is you call it soft magic, and it's like it's in the background. It's not like a fireball in your face. It's more like just this character's willpower never getting out. So that's where it kind of gets hard to do.
Absolutely.
And a one shot is hard because I know for myself, and I imagine a lot of our patrons would enjoy doing a Lord of the Rings like campaign where they could explore the world rather than just like, but I could see it a lot of this, like, I think like you're talking about a Fornos one, like that would be a lot of fun, but maybe it wouldn't make the most sense to have something with an actual plot, because if you're going to have characters with magic, then it would, I don't know if everyone else would feel this way, but it wouldn't feel cheap, but it would feel kind of off to have like, oh, here's my character at, the Battle of Pelennor Fields, my wizard that's like throwing fireballs at people.
Well, to be fair, that's kind of how Battle for Middle Earth is sometimes. That's an interesting point though, Royan. Like they could be what if scenarios, and it could be like what if Sauron got the ring, or what if there was more magic in Middle Earth or whatever, to where it's like we would have to. This is why it's like it's no promise or anything with a D&D Patreon thing. It's just a thought that I've had. That would be fun if we could figure out a way to manage it, because a full-fledged campaign would be really tough, because we'd have to meet like once a week, and then like some of our patrons are all over the world, so we'd have to meet at really odd times, like 8 a.m. on a Thursday. Like it'd be weird. But again, if there's some possibility of this, like even if again there were what if scenarios, because then you could give the thing with the the Battle of Fornost is, it would be tough to have, like, I wouldn't want to railroad the characters, I wouldn't want to railroad the players, but it's obvious that the story is going in a certain direction. So again, it's just a very like base thought that I have that I wanted your thoughts on. So like if you were running a D&D Middle Earth campaign, how would you do it?
I mean, if we're doing a campaign over a one shot, that makes it way easier for me. So if I have the whole campaign, I honestly, this is personal preference, I as a player would enjoy more exploring a time point that's not already like a part of the massive plot. Like we were talking earlier when we were like, where do you want to live? Having a campaign take place in Arnor before everything went to hell, or maybe like right before everything goes to hell, because usually D&D, everything goes to hell anyway.
You get sadistic DMs, and then
like as the DM, you don't have to worry about like setting characters and all that, although you will have to fill in the blanks for a lot of those characters.
I mean, you could do like the division of Arnor, not necessarily even the Angmar War, but the falling to Cardolan and Cardolan, Rudauer, Arthedain.
Exactly. Like that would be something that you could have, and everyone would probably just have to like leave their rules, not the rules lawyering, but like the lore lawyering at the door.
True.
Because it's D&D, and you can't control the way that people are going to act, and you can't control the way that your fellow players are going to act. So
And that's
You know?
where it would be fun because you could take a point where it is canon in the legendarium, right? The fall or the division of Arnor, and then go from there, like branch off into its own like what if. Because again,
Which is why, when I talk about this, I feel like this is such an interesting point in Middle Earth history that has very little to any exploration. It's like, what can you do with 3 human kingdoms that aren't necessarily like full scale warring against each other, but they get on odds? Like,
oh yeah,
you can really make a TV show out of that. But they picked the Second Age anyway.
right?
We'll see what they do with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. That would be, and I've always thought the First Age would be such an interesting time it would be such an interesting like open world Skyrim-esque game because you have a lot of big things going on without a lot of explanation as to like the exact details. And yeah, the division of Arnor is the exact same way where it's like you could have one player be the king of Cardolan and another player be his right hand like lieutenant, and then have another player be a ranger from Arthedain, and then have another player be a hillman from Rudour, and how you
Let's add some race diversity in our group here, all right? Like, let's not all have men. Let's throw an elf or a dwarf in
sure,
there. Maybe.
you can have an elf from Linden who's trying to help out. You could have yeah, that's fair.
Here's my Hobbit character. Everyone just kind of looks at you.
Yeah,
like,
everybody's like, "Who? What are you?" That's true. You could. Oh my gosh. See, that's where it'd be so fun. Again, it would take. And that's why I'm also not promising anything like yet. But it would because it would take a lot of preparation, especially if it were a full-fledged campaign. And then because meeting once a month, like we do for Battle of Middle Earth games, wouldn't cut it, but it'd be tough to meet more than that, if that makes sense. Because like it takes like a week in advance to make sure everybody's on the same page about a certain day for Battle for Middle Earth. So like it would be, that's where I'm thinking a one shot might be the way to go with it. But I don't know. We'll keep playing with this idea. It's such an interesting one because it would be so cool to do something like that for kind of a Patreon special. And we could even I could even OBS Studio record it or record part of it or whatever, and
oh my gosh,
like release it to the rest of Patreon or the main channel and just be like, hey, this is something we did on Patreon. I don't know. It would be very interesting, but it would be so complex to set up, and it'd be tough because everybody would have to everybody who would play would have to come with characters already like rolled. It would take way too long to roll characters for each person with them. But like, I don't know. If something like this ever comes up, it's possible. We could we'll let you know out there to the patrons, but also let us know if that would be something you'd be interested in. That would be so much fun, honestly.
Yeah, I think it would have to be a one shot, and
I think so too.
For a one shot, I really would. I would pick a battle or a conflict.
Yeah,
and then have characters like it. Obviously, you can't pick the Pelennor Fields and have everybody be like a rider of Rohan because it doesn't make that much sense. But you can pick like that time, and then you can have it be like you are a special group that have to go and do this thing.
Yeah, exactly. You're a group that has to go retake Caer Andros while Aragorn marches to the Black Gate, and
which is that's sick. All right, you sold me already. I mean,
I mean that'd be sweet. Because you got a specific mission, you will have some role playing opportunities, and then you'd have some action, obviously some action adventure opportunities, and it would be something where it's like it's possible that the group would succeed, right? It's hopeful that the group would succeed, but it's possible that depending on how they would
you get bodied.
Yeah, that you get just smashed. But yeah, it would take a long time to write and to put it all together, to the logistics. But yeah, let us know if that'd be something you guys would be interested in, because we could do any age, we could do any kind of like certain moment. I think that Caer Andros thing has like a definite potential for a one shot. That would be pretty cool, because it gets reclaimed, and I believe Aragorn, at least this is how it is in Latro, Aragorn just sends people who are too afraid to go to the Black Gate, sends them to Caer Andros.
But already starting off, your characters are cowards.
Well, I think they're under Elfhelm, right? So Elfhelm would play, because I think he went off to go lead that adventure, or I can't remember how it happens in the books. I guess
and they send Elfhelm to capture Gondorian outpost.
That's a good, because I think he was. There were orcs blocking the road back to Rohan, if I recall.
Okay.
Let me see. War of the Ring. Okay. Aragorn gave a leave to 1,000 scared young men from Rohan and Losanark.
Losanark is South Gondor.
I just never can pronounce that word. With orders to retake the island if necessary. And then they do.
I like how he specifically called out scared young men from these two specific areas. Get wrecked, kids.
That's what it says in the Tolkien Gateway. But yeah, I mean that would be so cool. And again, a first stage one where you're exploring the land because a lot of big things are set up, but a lot of details need filling in and like
first stage would make a lot of sense because there's a lot of times where you have characters going on adventures that aren't necessarily tied to
the main story,
massive plot with a bunch of characters involved. Like hell, Baron and Luthien's thing, you can make that like.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a 3-person campaign, but someone's playing a dog.
I like it a lot. I mean, because it could even be something where it's like after the Battle of the Sudden Flame, but before Baron and Luthien, you have adventurers who are trying to retake Dorthonion, north of Doriath, and it's like, how does that work? Because Sauron is lurking nearby, and all of that. Like, it just there's so much potential, but again, a lot of story work and build up and mechanics and things to prepare. So if this were to happen, it wouldn't probably happen for a couple months. It would definitely need
years maybe.
But. Yeah, but it would need to because I'd want to really do it right, because again, I'd love to DM something like that for you guys and then just really get into it, but then let it become your story. Again, like in our campaign, our friend is like king of a city that we happened to stumble into, and then he happened to like put on the crown at that time and he became the king. And it's like that, I don't know how far out like that would go, but if we were doing an Arthedain, Cardolan, Rudauer thing, it's possible that a player could end up as like the ruler of that. And because again, like I can't really point to after the splitting of the kingdom, I can't really point to any named Rudauer kings. So why not, right? Why not? Like that wouldn't even bother me lore wise. And even if it did, it's like, it's a D&D one shot or a D&D campaign. So yeah, so I just wanted to throw that idea out there. Ryan, you gave me a lot of good ideas. I'm sure we'll talk more about this, or how we would do this, kind of off screen. But yeah, so all right, so we'll come to our really only news piece. So Dominic and Billy, the Merry and Pippin actors, have launched their own YouTube podcast. It's called The Friendship Onion. And so it's funny. It's partially, if you go to their About section, it's partially Middle Earth related. It's like, join your favorite hobbits, friends, and co-stars Billy Boyd and Dom Monahan as they take a look back at their time on The Lord of the Rings, featuring interviews with cast and crew, diving deep into life behind the scenes, and answering the many fan questions. The Friendship Onion will peel back the layers of their friendship, both on screen and off. So yeah, really cool, really, really heartwarming. Right now, I'm attempting to get an interview with them, and I mean that would just be amazing. That would be be amazing. So hopefully, I can get that out for you guys. And yeah, I've got some questions set up for them, because the thing with them is they've been, they've been circuiting and doing interviews for The Lord of the Rings for 20 years. So I wouldn't want to ask them the same questions they've been asked over and over again. And ultimately, what I would want to ask them is, besides Tolkien and Christopher Tolkien themselves, they really have probably the best insight into the minds and psychology of Merry and Pippin. So I'd want to ask them a lot of like character-centric questions of like kind of how, like how they think the role of the hero archetype with, as it concerns hobbits, how that plays today, how their characters specifically on screen of Merry and Pippin affected, culture in terms of films and all that kind of stuff. Just very character-centric, if I'm able to get that interview, which would just be, fantastic. I mean, they've been heroes of mine since I was a kid. Like, I've been watching them on screen, right? I mean, that'd definitely be a dream come true. So yeah, we'll see. But either way, they've launched their podcast, and go check it out. I've linked that in the description of the YouTube video. And the Friendship Onion. So besides that, Amazon's been pretty tight tight-lipped and playing their cards close to the vest. LOTR doesn't really have any news over the past month.
I think we talked about this. Did we talk about last time how like did I complain about Amazon's like marketing for their
Wait, no, that was right after we did it. Yeah, let loose. So it's not really news, but yeah, let loose because it's Amazon.
Okay, so we talked like I think I either talked on the podcast or with you about this, and I was like, listen, their marketing department is garbage because shows come out on there, good shows, and you just don't hear about them. And I think it was either within the last month or around the time of the last podcast. I just thought like, hell, I'll go look at Amazon Prime Video. Let's see what's on there. And Invincible was on there. And if you don't know what Invincible is, it's an amazing show. Go watch it. Not for your kids though. Don't bring your kids. I had no idea it was coming. I had no idea when it was released. It just happened that when I found the show, there was like 2 weeks left because they were releasing them on weekly schedule. And it's just this is like the kind of thing that's like I'm very frustrated about because they could build hype around their projects. They could do it. It would be very easy for them. But they don't. And like they don't need to give away the plot of this Amazon like the Lord of the Rings TV show. And I'm not asking them to. I'm not even saying like they should already have content out already. But they kind of should. Like
yeah. I mean, I'm waiting for that trailer drop at some point because
I think I feel like I talked about this before, or at least with somebody, because I brought up how the Elder Scrolls 6 at E3, like what was it now, 3-4 years ago, they dropped like a 10-second trailer that just it said nothing but the Elder Scrolls 6, and you kind of flew through like a little picturesque landscape, and there were videos for weeks digesting that trailer. And this is the kind of thing that we would eat up as fans, and it would just help build hype for this project. And the fact that they don't market any of their projects like at all is immensely disappointing to me.
I mean, it's weird because it's like it's the timing of it as well. It's funny. The biggest hype that they have going for them is within channels like my friend Fellowship of Fans, where it's like he's always speculating. He's always talking about it. Like the tiniest bit of news or a leak comes out, and he's there making a video about it and talking about it. That's the best like that they've got. And they, you know, from time to time they release something. At the beginning of April, right? They released some like picture of a beach with one of those director like clap things. One of those, you know what I'm talking about? What are those called?
Yeah.
And like
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know.
Yeah, one of those like director clap things when they start a scene. It was like
the black and white thing.
Yeah, it was like in the picture, and then they had like some of the words and like of the scene and of the whatever the actors like blurred out, but like people were trying to analyze that, and it's just like that's a good sign. You should keep doing stuff like that because, I mean, even with like when they started their Twitter account and then they were like, "Welcome to the Second Age" and Numenor and all that kind of stuff, and like. You know, every couple of days or whatever, they would release a picture. That was still years ago, if I recall. That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago. And this was the thing that I think made me think about it recently. Okay, if you are a fan of Lord of the Rings, I'm assuming that you read fantasy at least a little bit or at some point. And if you do that, you may have heard of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. It's like got like 14 books in it or whatever. They're all like the size of the largest Game of Thrones series book. They're absolutely massive. I think I have the first one, and I think it's like 800 pages long. There's 14 of those. The Wheel of Time is getting a TV series, and even if you're a fan of the Wheel of Time, or you know you're familiar with it, you probably didn't know this because I didn't. They're making a TV series. It's coming out this year, and it's on Amazon Prime Video. And nobody's heard about it, I feel like. I can't believe this. Am I actually living under a rock? I can't be, because I do podcasts on Lord of the Rings news every single month.
And, like, I'm, like, watching out for that stuff. And, like, again, there was like, how many months are we from? I think they're planning to wrap filming at the end of July or early August, and so that's what, a couple, like 3 months away, 2 months away, and we had no like really big noteworthy news to talk about this month. I mean, you have like some director stuff, but I usually don't like follow much of that anyway because sometimes it's conjecture, but also like, I don't know, these directors are great, but I'm not sure what that means for the lore or for the show itself. So like, okay, like cool, it's in good hands with this director from this show, but okay, like I that's why I also stopped talking about the actors so much. I'm like, cool, this person was cast, but I don't know as what, in what episode, for what reason, or like any of that. So I'm like, okay, all right, this person was cast. Like, cool, they're a good actor or actress, but awesome. All right, I don't know what to say.
Absolutely no reason why every single month I hear about what's coming to Netflix that's new.
Yeah.
But this project, this Wheel of Time project, which I granted, Wheel of Time is not like, that's not common knowledge for people. That's not something that everyone's heard of. It's not popular culture, but it is something that I'm interested in. And it's in this fantasy literary world where I kind of like spend a lot of time, and I didn't hear about it. And this project was in development for years, and I didn't hear about it until now. And it comes out this year. We're almost halfway through the year. It's May. It's the end of May.
I mean, to be fair, that's a great point about Lord of the Rings as well. Is as far as I know, it was originally, it was going to come out this year. I mean, we were talking.
I thought it was this year or next year. I thought.
Yeah, this year or next year, but we still don't know, and it's halfway through the year, right? Like that's kind of a problem where they're like, can we give you a date when this will come out? No. Can we tell you how many will it be all at once, or will it be week by week? Can we tell
It'll be week by week. If it's
No.
Amazon Prime Video, they've been doing week by week for all of their new shows. So it'll be week by week. But have they said that? No. I'm just extrapolating from data that I have.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure season 1 of The Boys, you said like the new content is going more week by week.
The season 1 of The Boys came out all at once, but that came out like now 4 or 5 years ago.
I thought that was 2019.
I don't remember. The Boys, I thought it was 2018. But I may be crazy.
No, it was
I thought
July
The Boys...
of 2019. So
okay, I'm crazy then. Never mind. But The Boys season 2 and Invincible, they both released the first 3 episodes in one go because it's the first season, and then because they're trying it, they want you to get hooked, and then they release weekly after that.
See, yeah, and that's the thing is like if they do that with the Lord of the Rings, 3 episodes and then weekly, I'm pretty sure if I were to guess, we're probably going to get about 8 episodes in season 1, about 8. So we'd have 5 weeks. I mean, that's like, it's just weird that they're not telling us anything. Like, are we getting that this year? Are we getting a trailer this year? Are we getting that next year? I assume at the latest we'll get it fall of next year because I don't know how long it'll take to edit everything. But like, I don't know. I don't know if they know, to be honest. They should have a rough idea though. Like, I don't know. I haven't made this weekend's video, for instance, on Radagast. But could I tell you that it'll be out sometime on Sunday? Sunday my time? Yeah, I can tell you that. Can I tell you exactly when? No. Probably I can give you maybe a couple hours worth of estimates, but I can tell you it'll be out on Sunday. And that's the thing is they're not like, okay, I can't tell you when it'll be out between like in the winter of 2021. Like, they can't even tell us that, which is interesting. They're not even giving us a season of, like, I expect Lord of the Rings, Amazon, season 1, December, sometime from, like, December through February, like, winter of 2021. Like, they haven't given us that. So, yeah. No, your points are very valid, Ryan. Your points are very valid.
The Lord of the Rings TV series was supposed to come out this year.
Yeah, supposed to. And it still might. That's the thing is it still might. I mean, we got 6 months. And I don't know how long it'll take to edit. Maybe they'll edit this thing within a month and then they'll give it to us in November or something like that. I don't know. But like, that's the part of the problem. I mean, remember when Infinity War came out in 2018 and then it was like the end of 2017 when they gave us the trailer for it?
I think so, yeah.
Like, how much anticipation that built of like...
And I can understand, like, this is, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is an interesting, like,
comparison because they had been building off of movies for like 10 years at that point.
True.
But I think I would call it more like, I remember when episode 7, The Force Awakens for Star Wars came out. And then I think that came out at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And then at the Super Bowl, so that's in February, so a couple months later. If you're not American and you don't know what the Super Bowl is, look it up.
Football, it's football.
It's the biggest game, but in America, there's a lot of media attention around it. It gets a lot of like trailers and shit. It's like stuff comes out right then. And so I remember at the Super Bowl, I think I saw the trailer for Rogue One, which came out over a year later, I think. Or did it? No, it came out later that year.
Yeah, it was like December of that year, though. It was winter of 2017. 2017. No, sorry.
I can't remember if they had 2 years in between each of those movies or 1 year, because
so it was 2 years in between like the big episodes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So it was 7, Rogue One, 8, Solo, 9.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian.
Yeah. Wow, you saw a trailer for that 9 months before? That's I
remember. I'm pretty sure I saw it at the Super Bowl.
That sounds about right, though. I don't know. Yeah, no, that must have been 2016.
I remember being excited about it, which was
2016.
Rogue One, which was a project I had no interest in. Because, I was excited. I was naive and excited at the time about the possibilities for this new sequels thing. And they're like, hey, we're going back in time to a time that we've already been over. And you know what? I watched the thing. I was like, hell yeah, I want to watch Rogue One now. I didn't even know what Rogue One was.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the thing, is imagine how much anticipation they would build if they released a trailer today. And then, like...
It doesn't even need to be long. It doesn't need to give... Okay, I will admit
20
that
seconds,
movie trailers, especially these days, love to give away the plot points. Yeah. Like, if you've ever watched a Fast and Furious movie trailer, like, there's 3 or 4 plot twists in the trailer. That, like...
I mean, I remember Man of Steel. Or, no, sorry, not Man of Steel. It was Batman versus Superman when that came out. And I'm like...
Oh, my
I was
God.
like, okay, so they're going to fight each other, and then they're going to work together to fight Doomsday. Awesome. And then I'm pretty sure Doomsday is going to kill Superman because that's how it works in the comics. So
yeah. They revealed Doomsday in the trailer.
Yeah, they did.
Can you believe it? The plot, like, I think the other thing that's like almost as bad, it's not as bad as that, but almost as bad as Thor Ragnarok. They should not have dropped that Hulk was going to be in that movie in the trailer. Never in a million years. I would have held on to that with my dearest life, because people are going to go see the Thor movie, especially if you make it funny, which they did in the trailer. Yeah. The trailer was funny, so everyone was going to go watch it because it's an MCU movie. It was like the 30-second one or whatever, but they gave it away. They gave away that the Hulk was going to be in the trailer for like 2 seconds. That's all he was in the trailer for.
And that's like a marketing thing that's just to make money, because it's like, oh, like that looks cool, Hulk's gonna be there, so maybe we'll get some Hulk fans and that'll make us more money, so put Hulk in the trailer. Oh, maybe people like Doomsday, so let's put him in, and then we'll get Doomsday fans in the seats. And it's like with Amazon, everybody, I mean, not everybody to be fair, but like, well, actually no, everybody, because everybody knows what happened in the Second Age because of the beginning of Peter Jackson's films. They don't maybe know the details because not everybody's read that part of the appendices and the unfinished tales and all that kind of stuff. But like, people know that Sauron is defeated at the end of the age, and that's what leads to the Lord of the Rings, because that's the first scene in the Fellowship. But so they can put some. They don't have to put anything that they don't want to spoil within their subplots. But like, dude, just even like a teaser trailer of like just a boat sailing, and then like the camera pans up. And it's all night out, but you see one brilliant star high above the mountains of Numenor. And then it's just like, winter 2021, Lord of the Rings Amazon Season 1. It's like, oh my gosh, it's
that would be perfect.
Yeah.
That would be perfect. And we're talking about this for a long time, but like the last thing I want to, I guess, really nail home to the people who are still listening after we're rambling here. Like,
I love it.
You and I, and the viewers that watch all these podcasts every month, have a great understanding of what's going on with the show, as great as you can get without being on the inside or, you know, Mr. Leaky Boy. But for the casual fan or just the person that you want to get to that's just interested enough to give it a shot.
Yeah.
They have no idea. They heard that Amazon might be baking because it made a lot of headlines when it was first announced. $2 billion Amazon TV show.
I thought you were going to say 2 billion years ago. Yeah.
That was like 3 or 4 years ago now when that was released. I feel like I was still in high school when that was released.
We were, if I recall, they were talking earlier about the Aragorn show. There were whispers, I believe, of that when we were still in high school, but they hadn't officially announced anything. And then they announced the show in November of 2017.
Oh my God, I was still in high school.
Right?
November of 2017.
We had just freshman in college. Yeah, we had graduated, but I believe the rumors of the Aragorn thing.
Yeah, that was when we were still.
I think that was when we were still in high school. So it's been a while.
What a nightmare, bro. I can't believe they heard about that way back then. If you told like a casual fan, they might remember it, but somebody who would have heard about it and maybe have been interested but is not a fan, they have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I mean, we've graduated college now, and that's just how long it's been. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's nuts. It's kind of a bit of a blunder in terms of marketing because it's just like, yeah, I mean, people are like, oh my gosh, is that show still happening? It's just...
I thought that was canceled.
Yeah,
I never heard about it for 4 years.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you see those memes of like, Elder Scrolls 6. It's like, you won't be able to play it, but your descendants will. So that's fun.
And people are, it's a huge meme and it's funny, I think not that recently, or maybe it was a long time ago. I don't remember when I saw the meme, but it's like Morrowind. The distance between Morrowind and Skyrim. Morrowind is the second Elder Scrolls game that came out forever ago. Is now the same distance between Skyrim and Elder Scrolls 6.
What?
Yeah, it's real. It's real.
What?
I think Skyrim is closer to Morrowind now than Skyrim is to Elder Scrolls 6. And you know what? I always think like that can't be true. But then I remember that Skyrim and Halo Reach came out in similar times.
Whoa.
There's been two more Halo games since then. One Halo Wars game and another Halo Infinite game is going to come out before Elder Scrolls 6.
See, and it's like the same thing because it's like, I mean, there was Oblivion in between Morrowind and Skyrim.
Yes, there was a whole other game that's amazing and everyone loves.
And maybe they're trying to get the decade thing because when did The Hobbit come out? The Hobbit came out like maybe the show is trying to get that because like Fellowship came out 2001, right? And
I don't believe in the decade thing anymore. Not after Pokemon scorned me with the...
Because I wonder if they're like, okay, we got to do 2021 because I believe the first Hobbit was 20... No, that was 2012, I think. Yeah. Maybe they're waiting for just 2022 then. They're like...
Yeah, but I had Hobbit trailers in 2011. I can guarantee you that. Guarantee you that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know. And again, this is just... me, like us hoping that they're just not using it just for money. I don't want that. And like, or trying to like, keep it under wraps and like, oh, it's coming, like trying to build up that anticipation that way where it's like, don't worry. Yeah, something's coming. And then all of a sudden it's like 8 episodes of very meh content. It's like, oh, I waited 5 years for that.
Awesome. The first trailer of There and Back Again was December 21st, 2011. So about a full year before the movie released. And so if we extrapolate that and we say, despite the fact that these were made by 2 different studios.
Sure.
And one of these had a way bigger budget than the other one. And that's a TV show, flat out.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, kind of crazy. Yeah. But we have, if the trailer released tomorrow, everything would go. I'd get on the next podcast and I'd say I'm sorry, but it's not just that it hasn't come yet. It's that there's no way it's coming anytime soon either.
Yeah, well, and it's just I don't know. Again, they're hush hush about certain things, but it can be to their detriment too. Sometimes the telling the truth, a lot of times, telling the truth and just being outright with certain things. Certain things you don't have to, play all your cards at once. But with the whole nudity director, the relationship director,
that was
whatever
something that was completely blundered, and we've forgotten about it because we have goldfish brains and we think about other things. But like. I would have loved it if somebody came out, and even if they were like, no, yeah, we're doubling down. We have a nudity director in our show.
Yeah.
That's going to turn off a lot of fans, probably myself included. But damn it, is it better than just having the
speculation out there and the I mean, I remember somebody saying that it was probably just to build like anticipation for something or to just keep people talking about it or
if you want to keep people talking about it, throw a tweet our way.
Yeah, exactly.
$0.
Yeah, zero, and it's something positive because that's the thing is people were talking about it, but not in a very positive way. It was, very, very negative press for them. So like, and again, how do you fix it? Be like, hey, we're gonna call a press conference, or not even. Hey, here's a 30-second
YouTube twit video. Longer. Here's a twit longer, bro.
Yeah. Oh. Like here's a tweet. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. And again, this isn't to say that we've given up faith on the Amazon show or anything like that. We're still very hopeful.
No, I'm just frustrated. I still am, I feel like I always come on these podcasts and I'm like kind of maybe a little bit too naive about hope for this show. But I still am excited for the show to come out, and I'm hopeful about it. I used to think there's no way you could throw so much money at something and have it be bad, but it's clearly not the case.
Game of Thrones season 8, yeah. and yeah, I mean, like, I think we'll know within the first couple minutes of the first episode kind of how the vibe. Well, does it pass the vibe check? That's going to be the question.
I think by the end of the first episode, because have you seen Invincible?
Not yet. I still need to watch.
Go watch at least the first episode. At least the first episode.
Okay.
And then you'll get what I'm talking about. You got to watch the whole first episode before you get the vibe of a show.
I mean, sure, you're right. In like, you got to see where the stories all start and everything. Like even Game of Thrones had like Jaime throwing Bran out the window, and you're like, oh man. But like, what I mean,
crazy.
Oh yeah, like
get back to that. That was crazy. But they did kind of set the tone for the show in literally the first scene.
But that's what I mean. Is it's the tone. I guess it's not the vibes. It's the tone. I don't know what do you want to call it, but like.
Invincible, it's not like that. You gotta watch the whole episode.
Okay.
You gotta watch the whole first episode.
But like, yeah, I mean, with Game of Thrones, that first scene of the White Walkers and then the guy running and then eventually gets his head cut off like very early on in that episode. It's like, wow, this is dark, but this is the fantasy that I'm signing up for. You just again, first few seconds of Fellowship of the Ring, where you hear the music, the elven music, and then you hear the voiceover, and it's like. Middle Earth, I'm here, right? So that's where I'm thinking. It's like we'll kind of have we'll kind of know what we're after within hopefully the first couple minutes. But again, after that first episode, like it's not like I'll be like, this is weird. All right, I'm turning this off. We're 2 minutes in. But
well, not us. We're gonna watch it all, and if it's bad, you better believe we're gonna talk about it.
Oh yeah, if it's bad, we're still watching it, and I'm gonna have some fun videos on my channel.
Roast it.
Roast it. I'm gonna pull out like all the books and be like, this is what this is going against, and it's going against Tolkien lore here. I'm upset. Here's why. Like, yeah. And
again, I say it again. I'm not against it, like taking small liberties with Tolkien's lore, but if it does make it awful,
it's like the average. Again, it's my problem with Shadow of War as well. If the average viewer is like, wow, I didn't know Galadriel and Elrond had a thing. I'm gonna be so. Angry. I'm gonna be so upset. But hopefully it's not like that. And I don't think it. I think they know that the audience would be upset with something like that.
You'd think that, but
you'd think, yeah.
Do they even know we exist anymore? Maybe they just gave up on us, which is why they don't talk to us.
I like it. Anyway, we've been rambling.
Yeah, we gotta cut this. We gotta cut this off.
Remember when I was like, "Oh, it'll be a short podcast." I think this is already longer.
It never is.
Last month.
It never is.
Yeah, and we had like no news. Is the thing.
There's no way it's longer than last podcast.
So
last podcast was awesome. But
oh yeah, I mean, I think our last podcast was an hour and 45. This is an hour and 47 so far.
Real? No.
Yeah,
You're
dude.
playing with me, dude. You're playing with me.
Dude,
Okay,
hour and 47. We gotta wrap it. Sorry, guys. I hope you've enjoyed us rambling. Like, these are so when we just hang out, because I was talking to well, I guess we talked about this on the podcast, but like we've been friends since middle school and everything, and it's like these are what our conversations normally are like. So it kind of bled into the podcast, but we definitely kept it Middle Earth oriented.
I was
part, so.
I was thinking about this. Like, I was thinking back to like when we did the first podcast and how like very afraid and like I kept trying to keep it very proper and very like very matter of fact. Nowadays, I'm just complaining.
I mean, we're 37 podcasts into this, so we're like just having fun. I mean, I kicked open a beer because I had a victory in Battle of Middle Earth. Like, we're just chilling. It's great.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And real fast here, thanks to our Valar tier patrons, Adrian De la Torre, Chris Ortner, Peter Sheppard, Jonathan Putnam, Mark Kralick, Blair Scouten, Tobias Göldner, Ryan Ramsay, Merten, John Hume, Tom Bombadil, Reggie93, Jennifer Wood, Sam McBee, Matt Sibbach, Quantum Catalyst, Elizabeth Calvert, Maz Gibs, and Ben Gardner. Thank you guys all so much, and thank you to all of the patrons. Really means a lot. Yeah, we hope you enjoyed this. Let us. Don't be afraid. Like, you guys donate to the channel, right? And it really means a lot to both Ryan and I, and everything like that. Don't be afraid to criticize our podcasts. If you're like, hey, this really ran a lot like longer than I would have wanted, or hey, I'd like to see this. Like, you guys are donating to the channel, and
be nice about it though. I have sensitive feelings.
Sure, same. Please be nice about it. But I know you guys are just. But let us know if you'd want to see something else. If you have certain topics that you want us to discuss. With this month, we didn't really get a lot of topics. Maybe I missed some on the Discord. I don't believe I did though, but. We didn't have a lot of news or a lot of topics, so this was kind of.
I feel like we did the questions that we got pretty well, and if you wanted to hear us ramble about a question that you have, or just I think one of them was just like discuss this, and we did for like 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, so hopefully that's what you're into. But again, like we appreciate that you guys like so much. I love talking to you all the time. I always look at the Discord and the Patreon and try to respond where and when I can, and I love all you guys. You guys are just the best. So. Again, if we're doing something, you guys are donating to the channel, we serve you, right? If there's something you guys are upset about with this, just let us know. Or if you want to see more of us rambling about random topics, such as, Amazon marketing or how we do a Lord of the Rings D&D game, let us know.
I think our Fëanor, defending Fëanor's action was a real winner.
It was, and I'm glad that was at the beginning because I think we've lost it since then. I think we lost that spark, It's just, we're 2 hours in, so all right. So Ryan, thanks for joining me, man, as always. And yeah, we'll be back here next month. Thank you all so much for joining us on this adventure. Until the next one, my great friends.